Lines on a map will shape our state's future. We're getting a first look at the plan for new voting lines, how the redistricting proposal could change who represents you in Washington and at the state capitol.
If you can't stand the thought of one of your loved ones having to wait for access for medically necessary care, don't make an exception for one of ours.
Texans who need at-home health care send a message to lawmakers, how they're hoping for help as billions of dollars in relief money sits unspent. People approved for help to pay their rent still in limbo.
There's one phone number for everybody to call, so you can't get through.
Our investigation looks into how long some people have waited for money they desperately need.
Produced from the Capitol in Austin and airing statewide, this is the award-winning State of Texas.
Hello and thank you for joining us. I'm Josh Hinkle. State lawmakers unveiled the first draft of the new congressional map for Texas. Thanks to population growth, Texas is getting 2 new seats in Congress. The map puts one of those seats in Houston, the other in Austin. Politics reporter Daniel Marin looks at how the first draft is already drawing strong reactions.
It is not as aggressive a play as you might have imagined.
Taking a look at the first draft of the proposed state congressional map, and you can see the creation of District 37, pretty much the city of Austin west of I-35. But gone from Travis County is District 25, so this would keep the number of local seats in D.C. at the current 5. And there's a big shakeup for Williamson County, which currently sits entirely within District 31. The new map instead carves into the county and places Round Rock and Pflugerville in District 17. Williamson County narrowly voted for President Joe Biden in 2020 after former President Donald Trump easily carried the county in 2016. Elections author David Daly with the group Fair Vote says the new map makes it clear Republicans are in the driver's seat, but he also believes the GOP is playing it somewhat safe.
It is not as aggressive a play as you might have imagined. Now, of course, an aggressive play in a state where demographics are changing rapidly can backfire.
Communication and political science professor Dr. Richard Pineda says proving a map is politically motivated isn't easy.
It's a little bit of the defense that says, listen, you can't prove that this is gerrymandering. We're just making responses to adjust to population shift.
Daniel Marin joins us now. We've heard concerns from Democrats. What kind of response are you getting from Republicans?
The Republicans seem to be kind of taking a wait-and-see approach. We did reach out to the Republican National Committee. They sent us a statement. It says the GOP is looking forward to seeing the final maps from the redistricting process. And then, as expected, they said the party will continue to fight for conservative values in Texas elections. But it's a pretty tame response compared to the tone that we've been seeing from the Democrats.
Well, what are some of the key takeaways from the maps?
Well, as we mentioned, it's 2 new congressional districts, the one in Austin, the other one in Houston. And voter data from those districts shows that the Austin seat favors the Democrats, and then the Houston area seat is drawn to favor a Republican candidate. Now, overall, the maps do seem to protect some Republican incumbents, shifting the voter lines in some areas that had started to see some growing numbers of registered Democrats. But some believe the maps will take the power away of voters of color. Now, we do have LULAC that is claiming the maps reduce the number of districts where Hispanic and Latino candidates have strong opportunities to win, and they've already vowed to challenge the maps in federal court unless changes are made.
The redistricting fight always seems to play out in court. We also got our first look at the proposed voting districts for seats in the state legislature. What stands out to you there?
Again, there are already concerns that this could lead to lawsuits over the maps. Our partners over at the Texas Tribune pointed out that the lines in the first plan kind of decrease the number of districts where Black and Hispanic voters hold a majority. And then here in Central Texas, looking at the maps, Travis County, it's going to go from 6 districts to 7. And then Williamson County would also see some lines shifting around. The biggest impact there on that district held by Democrat James Tellerico. It shifts from a leaning Democrat to a Republican majority. And then over in Hays County, that would be broken up into 2 districts with the incumbent Democrat Aaron Zwiener. She would be drawn into District 73. That district combines parts of Hays with Comal County, and it's got a solid Republican majority. Now, as you know, Josh Zwiener is one of the more liberal members of the legislature, and she could wind up facing one of the chamber's most conservative members in the next election. That would be Republican Kyle Biederman. He posted on Twitter that he and his wife own a home in Comal County, and he has hinted that he is planning to challenge Zwiener in that district. Biederman is currently from Fredericksburg, which was drawn into the district currently represented by Marble Falls Republican Terry Wilson. Now, the maps also put two incumbent Latina Democrats in the same El Paso area district pitted against each other. Lina Ortega and Claudia Ordaz Perez. They could face off if these maps do hold up. But a key point to remember, Josh, this is the first draft of the maps. Things could still change. The governor already hinted that he plans to call a fourth special session to keep working on redistricting. And meanwhile, the first public hearing on the House maps is set for Monday morning.
All right, a fourth special session. I can't wait. All right, we'll be watching. Thank you, Daniel.
Enough is enough. We need more officials who tell the truth.
A former advisor to President George W. Bush announced this week that he's joining the race for lieutenant governor. Matthew Dowd says he plans to run as a Democrat. He made the announcement in a video posted online wearing a Wimberley Texans hat. In it, Dowd attacked Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick over his response to mass shootings, the deadly winter blackout, and leading a charge for more voting restrictions. While many remember him as a Republican strategist, Dowd worked for Texas' last Democratic lieutenant governor, Bob Bullock, before joining Bush's team. He spoke to our colleagues at News Nation's Morning in America about why he's running as a Democrat.
I ran the last actually Democratic campaign in Texas that won for lieutenant governor in the 90s, a guy named Bob Bullock. I actually helped Ann Richards, who was the last Democratic governor to win in Texas. And so I spent a lot more time in my life before I went to work for George W. Bush as a Democrat. To me today, the choice is fundamentally not a choice between red and blue. It's a choice between who stands for democracy in the small d and who stands for autocracy. And I think the two parties are very divergent on that right now. I think the Democrats are the ones that stand for the democratic principle, small d, in our Constitution, and the Republicans don't. And so I think all Americans, that's the choice. Are you on the team that believes in our Constitution, or are you the team that believes in do whatever is you necessarily do to achieve power? And I think the Democrats are that, and that's why I'm running as a Democrat.
Dowd focused his criticism on Republican incumbent Dan Patrick, but he has to win the Democratic primary first. Mike Collier ran against Patrick in 2018. Next week, he plans to officially launch his campaign for a second run for lieutenant governor. Our Monica Madden spoke to Collier about Dowd's announcement and his own approach to the campaign.
I welcome primaries. I mean, I think primaries are good. It gives voters more of an opportunity to see who wishes to hold the job, make the decision as to who they trust, and will do a good job. So I expected a primary opponent. Doesn't bother me at all. What I offer is I come from the business world. I solve complex problems for a living. And the problems that we have to deal with are financially oriented, funding public schools, dealing with property taxes. They're energy oriented. I come from the energy industry. And so we've got to fix the grid. We have climate change. So these are technical issues that require somebody who can roll up their sleeves and solve the problem. In my opinion, that's what this is all about.
No Democrat has won a statewide election in Texas in more than 25 years. Collier had a stronger than expected showing in 2018 when he ran against Patrick, but he still ended up losing by close to 5 percentage points.
I've told the mother of a 10-week-old infant who can't swallow that we likely won't be able to see their child for another 4 months.
Texans who need at-home health care are feeling the effect of a shortage of nurses. How healthcare workers and patients are taking their case to the Capitol as lawmakers look at how to spend billions in federal relief money. A man who waited months to get help paying for rent finally gets some relief.
It brought me to tears. Just the fact that I can start from scratch now.
But the help only came after we started asking, what's taking so long? Our investigation next on State of Texas.